So I recently, and by recently I mean just today, just got home, had the honor of testifying before the Illinois State Senate Criminal Justice Committee on Senate Bill 1731, a beautiful little bill that would basically criminalize xylazine and fentanyl analogs. Because if there's one thing we haven't tried in this country, it's criminalizing more drugs. That classic approach that's worked so well since never. Like I walked into that hearing looking like a whole damn TED talk, like custom fitted suit, button down, crisp as my moral clarity. I looked like I was about to either testify or steal a senator's side piece at a gala. I came to slay ignorance and bigotry, professionally, of course. And who do I find putting forth this gem of a bill? The Illinois State Police, of course, because who better to lead on public health policy than the folks trained to tackle people face first into sidewalks? They brought along their favorite senator, Julie Morrison, who, bless her heart, seems to believe that if we just make drug laws a little bit more racist and unscientific, we can finally win the war on drugs. Spoiler alert, we're not winning. The war on drugs has been going on longer than The Simpsons and with much less character development. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So, by that logic, our drug policy is batshit bonkers. It's like they're stuck in a loop, like a cop-themed Groundhog Day. And every few years, the same panic, the same scare tactics, the same, this one's deadlier than the last headline. The drugs change, the laws stay stupid. And there I am, little old me in my power suit, looking like a harm reduction James Bond, telling them what it's like on the ground. Reality, where people use drugs for reasons that make sense to them, where punitive laws don't save lives. They just shuffle people into jail cells, trauma, and actually early graves. And I told them these kinds of laws don't reduce overdoses, they actually contribute to them. Criminalizing fentanyl analogs and xylazine just makes the drug supply more chaotic, more toxic, and more likely to kill someone. It's like putting a band aid on a bullet wound and then arresting the bullet. But the state police? Oh no. Like they had their own expert, a forensic lab scientist, who I think they might have found on Craigslist under sciencey sounding white dudes. This guy gets up there, all lab coat and confidence, and starts talking like he just read the Wikipedia entry for molecules 5 minutes ago. He had zero data. Zero. Couldn't cite a single impact study, didn't even know the street level consequences, and basically reported the wrong effects of xylazine. He basically stood up there and said, well, it sounds scary, so yeah, I support locking up more people. Senator Peters actually said it feels like this whole thing is just being driven by a vibe. His science was so bad, it should have come with the Surgeon General's warning. But here's what they don't want to admit. Criminalizing substances makes it nearly impossible to study them. If you schedule something as a Schedule 1, according to federal guidelines, they're off limits to researchers. That means we know less about them, not more. It's like throwing a tarp over the problem and calling that a solution. Don't even get me started on the racist impact. You know how this goes. I've talked about this before. These laws don't hit Dunlap or Morton or Naperville, or Arlington Heights. They hit the South Side. They hit the West side of Chicago. They hit Pekin. They hit the West End of Rockford. They hit Black and brown communities and working class folks and people who are already just basically scraping by. And these charges, they're not just slap on the wrists. These are life altering. In Illinois, for any personal possession of substances, you get a felony. And suddenly you can't get housing. Good luck finding a job. You can't build wealth and you can't pass anything on to your kids except generational trauma and an expert level understanding of how parole works. And while some smug senators nod along, completely disconnected from the people they claim to represent, you know who's not asking for this bill? The communities most impacted. You know who is? people with lobbyists on speed dial and back the blue bumper stickers on their boats. And when I said all this in my testimony, oh, honey, they were pressed. Faces tighter than a Botox convention, like I farted in church and handed out pamphlets about it. But I was calm, polished, like a Greek god of harm reduction, because I know the truth. It's not rocket science. Punishment has never been a treatment plan. If criminalizing drugs worked, we'd be in a fucking utopia by now. But instead, we've got the highest overdose death rates in history. New mystery chemicals are in the supply every year, and a system that punishes people for just trying to survive. Meanwhile, the people writing these laws, they'll never face these consequences. They'll go to fundraisers and call themselves heroes for getting tough on crime, while someone's kid dies alone in a bathroom stall because they were too goddamn scared to call for help. So, yeah, I wore a suit. I looked good. But sometimes, when you're walking into a temple of hypocrisy, you show up like a prophet with a great tailor. And the next time they bring that bill forward, I hope they'll remember what I said, that this is not policy. This is political theater. And I don't do tragedies. So you can pass your bill, collect your photo ops, and pat yourself on the fucking back. But just know this, every overdose that happens because someone was too scared to call for help, every life and family and community impacted and shattered by a felony that should have never fucking existed, and every community gutted by laws you wrote for your cushy, detached little thrones, that blood is on your fucking hands. And no lab coat, no badge, no campaign check big enough to dry clean the stench of that failure off of your fucking political legacy. Do better.